Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah ma ba'd. This questioner is asking a very important question, and similar questions have been asked before, and I think this will benefit a lot of people. Here we have a business partnership. Now, I'm just going to quickly break down the framework. This is going to be a very detailed answer, so I'm just going to break down the framework so you understand what's happening, you understand the question, you can understand the answer, and then the detail will follow. Okay? Business partnerships, the ulama have said, are at least of 5 types. I'm going to keep it simple and just keep it to 5. Number 1, these are known as musharakat. Musharaka is a business partnership, me having a joint venture with my brother. Okay, the first one is called musharaka al-anan, and this is where you have business partner who invest capital as well as effort. So let's go buy a lawnmower. It's going to cost £100. I'll put in 50, you put in 50, and we both go around mowing people's lawns. Business partnership in investment as well as labor. That's the first one, anan. The second one, which is the most common one today, is al-mudaraba. Al-mudaraba is where you've got a silent investor. I'm the one that's going to buy the lawnmower. You go and do the work, and we will share the profits. So the investment is mine. Everything that you need, I will invest wherever it is, and then we'll split it 60-40, 30-70, 50-50, whatever you agree. This is known as a mudaraba, where you've got a silent investor, and the second one is a labourer. I said second one, but just bear in mind that there could be a number of partners. Okay. The third one is al-mufawwada, and this is where a number of people have a stake in a business. So similar to shares and shareholders, is where loads of people are working for you, but you have a stake in that, as well as other people could having a stake in that. The fourth one is al-wujuh, musharaka al-wujuh. This is where you've got business partners, 2, 3, 4, maybe 10, where they take a loan out together, and then they work together, providing a service in order to pay back that loan. Al-wujuh. And then you've got al-musharaka fil amal. This is where you are partners in providing a service, but there isn't any kind of initial investment involved at all. So we are gardeners, but you've got no utensils, we've got no tools. We'll just work with our hands, and we'll remove your weeds for you, charge you £50 at the end of the day, £25 each, and that's our job done on that particular client's house. This is musharaka al-amal. Now, when it comes to al-mudaraba, as well as some of the others, but we're focusing on mudaraba here because this is where quite often we have the questions come about. And like I said, this is probably the most prevalent model that exists when it comes to Islamic finance, but also between brothers, who invest with one another. Al-mudaraba is where you've got the silent investor, or you've got the investor and you've got a person working who hasn't invested. I've got a coffee shop. I'm going to invest all of the money to buy the coffee shop and all the equipment, etc., etc., etc. I'm going to appoint you as my manager. I'm not going to be doing the daily working, the business dealings, etc. You're going to get 30%. I'm going to get 70%. Whatever we agree, you're the worker, I'm the investor. I might do some work, but mainly it's on you. Now, the question, so that's the model that we're looking at. The questioner is asking, if you've got business partners, and one of them has made a mistake. Now, this is irrespective of whether it's mudaraba or amal or anything else, anan or anything else, where you've got, say, let's just keep it simple. You've got 2 partners. You've got Bakr and you've got Zaid. Zaid makes a mistake. Now, that's affected the business. What do we do with that mistake? Does Zaid compensate? Do we both take the loss? How do we go about it? Now, the first thing we have to understand is that when you are a partner in the business, there is no disagreement between the ulama, is that the partners must have mutual consent when making a business decision. There is no difference between, and some of the ulama have said that there is ijma' on this, such as Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Qudama and others. And this is well known from the madhahib. And the reason why is because I'm not allowed to take your wealth without your permission, and vice versa. So now, the short answer is, if Zaid is messed up, he then needs to go and compensate, as long as he can establish that he hasn't fallen short, which is tafrit, or he hasn't transgressed, which is known as ifrat. How do you establish that? You can establish it in a number of ways, but let me just give you an example. Zayd and Amr, I think we said, were in a business transaction. Zayd is the one that makes a mistake. Let's keep it to Zayd. Amr says to Zayd, listen, we need coffee for our coffee shop, so contact the supplier and get, 100 kilograms of coffee. Zayd goes ahead and does that, but he doesn't realize that the price has now changed. So he places the order, comes back. Amr says, what's this? This receipt's going to affect us. It's going to affect our revenue. It's going to affect our profits. It's going to affect, how much we then charge, etc. How could he have done that? If Zayd can establish, listen, there was no negligence on my part. I asked you and you said, yeah, go ahead and do it. Or as long as he's not gone overboard in making a decision. The example of going overboard is where a person has not used the thing properly. So maybe in this example, transgression cannot be established. Maybe you can, but my mind's gone a bit blank on that. But there is negligence here, that meaning he's taken the invoice, not paying attention to the price change. As long as he's confirmed it with his business partner, there is no negligence. But if there was an oversight, he didn't look through it properly, and then, subhanAllah, I've paid, X amount extra, then Zayd is accountable for that. That's the short answer. The short answer is that if you've got business partners and one of them makes a mistake, as long as we can confirm that there was ifrat or tafrit, meaning there was transgression or lenience in making that business decision, then it's affected the business, then that partner is accountable. Why? Because this is a type of musharaka, and musharaka through ijma requires a business decision to be made together. That's the short answer. What's the long answer? Number one, we have to understand there's a number of principles. Number one, when we are talking about business partnerships, like we have just said there a second ago, so that's probably principle number one, that here we are working together and you are not allowed to transgress the rights of the other person. If a decision needs to be made, you have to speak to them. Otherwise, you're going to be taking their wealth unjustly, or you're going to be taking their profits unjustly, or you're going to be taking their time, etc., unjustly. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, as a principle, now this is also very important, which is if there's been an investment by one of the partners, it's not permissible, and again, this is ijma, to the point that some of the ulama have said that if this exists in the business contract, then the musharaka is batil. You have to start all over again. The contract itself is null and void. If one of the business partners says, listen, this is the capital that I'm investing, and I want my capital back as well as profits, this is batil. This is daman ala ra's mal. Meaning, okay, so this is my coffee shop now, yeah? We need £10,000 to set up a coffee shop. I say to Zayd, listen, I'm going to invest £10,000. After 6 months, I want £10,000 and £2,000 for every single month. So after 6 months, I want, £22,000 in return. That is not allowed. That is batil. Why? Because I've fixed the profit and I've guaranteed my return on capital. When you've got a mudaraba, capital cannot be guaranteed. So now when I put the 10,000 down, how does it work then in mudaraba, or any one of these formats of musharaka, is where we have then an agreement based on percentage, not on fixed rate. So I can't say to you 2,000 a month. You have to say 70-30, 60-40, 50-50, whatever you've agreed, 90-10, 80-20, it could be whatever. But whatever you've agreed, then you stick to. So, okay, whatever profit we've made, 80-20. If we make a loss, we make a loss. Who's the one that takes the hit? Well, I'm the one that's invested, so I've lost all my money. You've lost your salary because you've not invested. So here there's an issue that the ulama are total agreement that if there is a mudaraba or any kind of musharaka, then there has to be transparency in the profit and loss, and there cannot be a daman or guarantee on the ra's mal. Now here, this is very important. The majority of the ulama have said that you are now business partners, And that's one of the reasons why you can't do so. The Hanafis have agreed with the majority. However, they have likened the worker, so Zayd in our situation, as being an agent. So say I say to Zayd, completely separate issue. Let's say I say to Zayd, Zayd, here is £2, go get me some milk. Whose money is that? It's my money. Zayd is the agent. If Zayd messes up, he needs to then reimburse, compensate, or explain himself, or whatever it is. He is not acting as an agent. The Hanafis have said the partner who is the working partner, the person who hasn't invested, he is as if he is an agent. So let's go back to my coffee shop. £10,000 I've put in. Zayd is working with me. He is my operation manager. Now, when he is working for me, is he a partner or is he an agent? They all agreed that he is a partner. However, the Hanafis have said partner, but we also liken him to being an agent. Why? Because he is not allowed to work on his own initiative. So not only is he a partner, but he is closer to being an agent. Now, you might think, okay, well, that makes sense. But then how does that differ with the Hanafis? And the majority have said, no, he's a partner. He's not an agent, he's a partner. This is his business as much as it is yours. So he's not an agent. But then there are other masail that come from that. So for example, if Zayd then subcontracts the work over to other companies, because he is an agent, he could possibly do so if he has permission from you to do so, who is the initial investor. Whereas the majority have said, no, this is not allowed. This then needs to be then reviewed as to what you're doing in your partnership, if you're then going to subcontract the work, and then the contract has to be amended accordingly. It might be a little bit complicated, but this is some of the things that the ulama have talked about when it comes to understanding the partner as being a partner or an agent. Whatever the case, they're all agreed. In our masala here, that they have all said that if you have a partner, he is not allowed to transact unless if he has your permission. Sub-mas'ala. Sub-issue. Far'un. If he has made a transaction, Zayd's made a transaction, he's bought the coffee, can we cancel that decision that he has made without my consent? The ulama have said, listen, if there's ifrat and tafrit, we've just talked about that. But then the second mas'ala is this within the period of khiyar? What's the period of khiyar? I mean, the cooling off period, or the period of, I don't know, what do we call it? There's so many different uses of it in the West, really. There's a cooling off period, there is the returns period, there is an exchange policy, etc. So now, Zayd has placed the order for the coffee, right? Please excuse the noise in the background. This is just the builders working in the masjid. He's now paid £1,000 extra for what we normally pay for the coffee. Zayd comes to me and gives me the receipt or the invoice. I say, Akhi, what is this? We're paying £1,000 extra. We can't afford to do that. So now he is now blameworthy because of, if we can establish ifrat and tafriq. I say, I don't know about this. You made this decision yourself. If he can prove that there was no ifrat and tafriq from himself, transgression or lenience, then this is a joint decision, and we both have to live with it as a business decision that we have then made together, right? However, here's another mas'ala, and this might be useful for some people, which is Zayd's made the mistake, but is it within the cooling off period? Normally you have 14 days, 30 days, maybe even 6 months on certain commodities and items. If we go back to the manufacturer and say, listen, we want to cancel the order, then we should do so. We should do so. And then that would help us eradicate any kind of problems, and the mas'ala is then gone back to how it was in the beginning, which is the mudaraba in the way that it was. The final thing that I want to say is, let's say Zayd comes to me and says, listen, there's been no ifrat and tafrit. He can't afford 1,000. And I'm thinking like suggesting that, wait a minute, I think there is ifrat and tafrit. So there's a disagreement between the partners. What do you do in this scenario? Obviously, you try and reconcile. If you can't reconcile, then it goes to the qadi. And the qadi So you now then need to go to the Islamic courts or to Islamic center, and the Qadi will dictate upon what is zahir, what is apparent, after listening to both parties. If both parties can reconcile, either by, going back to what we were saying before, cancelling the order or whatever it might be. I mean, if there is a way that we can solve it, or if one of the partners says, okay, khalas, you made a mistake, I'll forfeit, I'll pardon, I'll overlook this time, just don't do it again. All of this, alhamdulillah, we go back to status quo, which is how it was in the beginning. However, if they disagree and they can't seem to find a way out, then the contract remains, the business partnership remains. It's not null and void, but the Qadi will resolve the matter for them by going with what is zahir. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He blesses us in everything that He gives us, and He gives us fiqh of the religion and teaches us ta'weel. Allahu a'lam. Sallallahu ala Muhammad.